All right, good morning. It is the Rise and Grind Detroit Lions morning talk show. I'm joined by Eric Rentamaki. We are back in the house today. It has been a minute. Eric, how you doing today? What's happening?
Fantastic, man. Glad to be back.
Yeah, you had a long vacation. I've had spurts of vacation and health crap to take care of. But today, we're going to get back to Lions talk in the morning. And the roster is very simple. We're going to talk about Lions news and rumors. The injury report, the panic has set in with a lot of Lions fans. Weekly schedule changes for this show and other shows. Your Lions transactions, what's kind of happening? What do we see, coming up here in the near future? Jake Bates, if you guys jumped in the boat that he was not a good kicker, you might want to change your mind again. 53-man updated predictions. We'll kind of go through some of that today. Who's on the bubble? Who's on the break-in, breakout list? We're going to do all that here in just about 90 seconds. We'll be right back. Good morning.
Adam Schefter at ESPN says there's 275,000 people.
Well, that was some party in downtown Detroit. 775,000 people, shattering the NFL draft attendance record.
This is the future.
Oh, great.
Evolution. This is the future.
Oh, great.
Evolution.
Oh, great. All right, and we're back, and we're going to get into it today. Eric, what's popping off the brain this morning right away? Why don't you tell the fans where you've been, what you've been up to the last, 10 days or so?
Oh,
and
my God.
I need to make sure I get ads turned off. And the reason why I got to do that is because you guys are about to like the stream right now and help this channel get out to more Lions fans. And so we're going to pay for all your ads today. As long as we get to 50 likes, we'll make sure that all the ads remain off today. So help us out. Smash the like button. Let's get it cooking this morning, as Chef would say. What you been up to, Eric? Let everybody know what's happening.
Yeah, let's go, man. This has been an awesome couple of weeks off. I tell you what, I went on an amazing trip. I went to, I started out in Port Huron on Lake Huron, and then went to Niagara Falls for a couple days. I went to Corning, New York for a couple days. Then I went up to Lake Huron in Ashtabula, Ohio. Then I went to Detroit. Then I flew to Las Vegas for 4 days. Then I came back to Detroit Lions training camp, and training camp was fantastic. Got to meet up with Will and a bunch of awesome people, Tracy and Jeremy, and we got to see Jeff Iafredi and Booner at Pro Sports Zone and at training camp. And training camp was awesome. I got to learn where to stand, where not to stand, what to do, what you couldn't do, where to sit, where not to sit, that kind of stuff. So the next time I go, I'll have a little better idea of what exactly the layout is and the format is and what to pay attention to and what not to pay attention to. So what I did is I watched all of Jake Bates warming up and all of his kicks, and I was keeping track of how many he was hitting and what he was missing and everything else. And apparently I was missing some stuff on the other side of the field, but it was all the way to the other side of the field. It was hard to see anyway. So I just relied on beat writers to let me know what was going on the other side of the field later on.
Yeah, so training camp, and for those of you that haven't been, I mean, obviously the Lions are trying to do a good job, and they're one of the few teams that they don't want pictures, they don't want video. I mean, other teams are allowing it. You know, maybe the other teams aren't putting a whole lot, you know, on the field when fans are there or when media is there. But the Lions must be, you know, running a regular practice. So, you know, they want to make sure that you're not giving away, you know, the Lions information to other teams. And so what I would encourage you for next season, all the fans, look, I get it. You want to take pictures. You want to take video, right? But when that information gets out, you're not helping your team win. So you're helping your team give up their playbook, give up their information to other teams. So I don't know if you guys have ever thought about it that way, but if we want to help this team as much as we can, we just got to follow the rules, right? As far as standing in places, like they've been kind of up and down and all over the place. I think some of them are, you know, on power trips, but just trying to keep like that one corner clear where we were standing there for a minute. We weren't in anybody's way. No. But the more people that kept filtering to the right of us were making it a problem. And they do need more stands, man. They really do. They need more seating, more area. You know, heck, they should even probably open up that hill, the Patricia Hill. You know, put some lawn chairs out there or something.
Yeah. So, I definitely saw where they could improve some things. And
it's a massive improvement already, though. Massive from where they've been. Like it's an incredible change. And I said that, you know, the first time that I went this year, that it's incredible change from where it was to where it is. So I was super happy with it. But let's welcome everybody into the chat real quick. So we've got Roger Chappis in the house, Cake Man, Rick, Tracy, of course, Cake Man again, Bruce Arthur, Joseph Ostin, DLR Van Halen, King SJ, again, all the way from Toronto. Good morning. Mike P's in the house. Who else do we have? Broski Bear's back.
He's back.
All right, Broski. All right, Broski. We're gonna get into it.
He said he likes living. I even vacation over there.
Yeah, Adam Baydoun's in the house. Hey, good morning, man. How you doing?
Yeah, what's up, Adam?
Let's see. We got Dale in here. We've got who else? Bradford Fields. That's an interesting name. You related to Justin Fields by chance? Just kidding. Just kidding. Shadow Viper's in here. Bo Booth's in here. Daryl Bell's in here. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Rise of Grind Morning Show. Let's get it popping with the first topic if you're ready. Are you ready?
Sure.
You know what we didn't do this week, though, because we kind of missed, you know, all the other shows? We didn't do any, we didn't do any over-under reactions.
Yep.
So if you have a few of those for today, great. We'll try to fit them in, but let's walk right into this hornet's nest of an injury report.
There's your first one right there.
What's that?
Is it an over or under reaction that Lions fans are freaking out about these injuries?
Well, you asked the chat, man. You asked the chat. Is it an
think?
over or under reaction, guys, ladies? I mean, should we be worried about the Detroit Lions? You know, where we're getting into the second preseason game here in a couple of days. We haven't suffered any major injuries, right, to a starter. So my disappointment lies with Kaminsky. I think he's a glue guy, you know, for this team. It was rough to see him go out early. David Botta, man, he was having a game. Like he was popping off the page for me in that game. Like he was making his way, right? Nate Lynn popping off the page in that game. Gilbert popping off the page in that game. So, and I get it. It's just 2s and 3s. It's just preseason. But you still like to see those things. I mean, what would we say if it was the other way, Eric? You know, if they weren't doing anything, we would be saying the exact opposite, right? They're worth spit, you know, get them off the team. But I hate to see injuries like that. Well, let's get into it. So on the preseason game itself, we had 5, 6 injuries. We had Hendon Hooker with a concussion. He is not expected to be back for this game. So the Lions brought in Jake Fromm. We'll try to get into Jake Fromm a little bit today. James Houston suffered a bone bruise in last Thursday's game. And David Botta suffered an Achilles injury. He's pretty much done for the season, right? Nate Lynn suffered a shoulder injury in that game. And right now he's on injured reserve. Connor Galvin, he had a knee injury in that game. He's done for the season. He's on IR. So there's 5, big potential big injuries, but nothing to a starter at this point. So as you're watching the game, obviously Nate Sudfeld was trash, completely trash, which didn't make it very watchable football. And then all the injuries started to happen. So what was really going through your mind? And we'll get into the rest of the injury report here in just a second, but what was going through your mind as you were kind of going through Thursday night's game?
I just couldn't believe how bad Nate Sudfeld looked. He looked lost. He looked slow. He looked like he was walking through mud, and everyone else was quick as lightning. And I just didn't know why he was holding onto the ball so long sometimes. And he made some very, very poor throws over the middle. Just throw the ball away, live to fight another day, and instead throws an interception or two. And he just looked lost, basically.
So let me shout out Broski Bear. He said you can't hit on every draft pick, and Hooker is a miss for sure. Yeah, I don't know what you watched, Broski. Maybe you're just trolling today already. You're deep sea fishing, across the pond here. But here's what I will tell you: Hooker came in and drove that offense right down the field, down the field. And if he had not gotten injured, he probably would have had a touchdown out of it. He was working his cobwebs out, right? I mean, a guy that hasn't played football in 2 years, since college, has not been in a game, has had some practices this year. I think he played phenomenal for, what he is, where he is in his, trajectory throughout his career so far. So, I would, if I had a big denied button, right? I don't. So, I would say denied.
Too, because listen, Hooker in one half of one quarter was so much more electric when he came in the game. You saw the entire feeling of the game go from the quarterback walking through mud to all of a sudden, holy crap, this guy's all over the place. He's hitting receivers. He's running all over the place. When there was nothing open and no one was there, he's getting 10, 15 yards a carry. It was awesome to watch. It was fun. I actually perked up and was having fun watching the game. Before that, it was like, what the hell are we doing?
Yeah, it was bad, man. It was a bad game, and I know we didn't really get to recap a ton of it, together. Obviously, I did a post game and spoke about it, but Nate Sudfeld's been in the league 9-10 seasons, and it looked like he was a rookie.
Yeah,
he looked like he was a rookie 6th round pick, is what he looked like, and he looked out of sorts. He looked confused. It was not NFL quarterbacking, in my opinion, not even close. And we can't have that. I mean, here's my only gripe, I think, with Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell. Like, they are loyal. They are very loyal to their players. They are very patient with their players because they do the work, right? They draft well. They know who they're bringing in. Otherwise, they wouldn't bring them in. And I feel like they're almost loyal to a fault. Do you kind of get that sense, Eric? Like they're too loyal. Like they're going to stick with these guys a little bit too much. Because if it were me the next day, Sudfeld would have been gone, like straight up gone. Don't care if Hendon Hooker is not playing. I would have brought in any other quarterback off the street and put him in there because that display was god awful. And I get it. Like he's been Jared Goff's ear now when he's been on the team, but that's what Mark Brunell's for. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but you have to remember sometimes guys, they have an off day. I have one every once in a while. Yesterday was an off day for me. And you got to remember, maybe he had something going on at home. Maybe he had a bad headache that day. We don't know what was going on. So I say give the guy a little bit of a chance. And we can't just bring somebody off the street and have them play the whole next 2 preseason games. It'd be just about impossible because then who's going to back that person up?
Yeah, no, and shout out to Bo Booth, man. Good luck this morning. I went through a whole host of that yesterday. Yeah, whole host of scans, man. I'm like glowing. I'm so radiated. So Broski says if you feel comfortable with Hooker as your backup, that's risky. Don't undervalue having a solid backup quarterback. Here's what I will tell you. If you are confident in Caleb Williams in a preseason game, making a couple of throws that had a bunch of yak, that's risky. If he's going to run around this season, he's going to be on his ass, I guarantee you. So here's a very intelligent comment, something very similar to what we were talking about after the game. 40 Gumble says it's a similar issue to last preseason where it's difficult to judge the wideout battle in these games with Sudfeld. That is a perfect point to make. And I echo that same sentiment, because if you don't have a capable quarterback that can get these guys the ball, you are ruining their opportunity. And I felt like, man, after that game, either, assuming Hendon obviously was going to be able to play this week, which he's probably not. So that Hooker was going to have more of an opportunity to, make Traquan Smith have a better chance of making the roster, right? Or DPJ or Antoine Green or any of these guys that just have not risen to the top yet of the depth chart. And Dan Campbell's been begging for it, right? Brad Holmes has been begging for it. They're waiting for somebody to finally just come alive and say, hey, I'm your guy. I'm right here. I'm going to go make plays, just like Dan Campbell said the other day. But Nate Sudfeld can't get these guys the ball. And I feel like that's why we're having this log jam at, 4, 5, and 6, if they keep 6. So maybe it's time to throw Goff in there for a couple of series with all of these lower tiered wide receivers. You don't have to put Brown in there. You don't have to put J-Mo in there. Put him in there for a series. Get these guys some balls and see what they look like. Maybe Fromm will be able to do it. We know Hendon can.
Yeah. Well, this is the one thing I want to say about Hendon Hooker. Okay. I went back and rewatched every play with Hendon Hooker in the game. Okay. I did it yesterday. And something that no one is talking about is a couple plays before he had his big run where he trucked the linebacker.
Yeah.
There was a play where there was a flag thrown for roughing the passer. And if you go back and watch that play, Hendon Hooker got absolutely trucked, helmet to helmet. The guy lowered his helmet, put it right into the face mask of Hooker, and put him on his back.
Well, that's where the concussion came from.
And that's got to be the play where the concussion came from, not the play where he didn't slide. Everybody's like, oh, he needs to slide. He needs to slide. Well, I don't think that's where the concussion came from.
No.
I think he was already concussed before that.
Yeah, no, I think that, that's a big misconception. I don't know who's saying that, but I saw what you saw, and it should have been helmet to helmet contact, right? It should have been a bigger penalty than what it was. And yeah, when you don't slide, what's going to happen? His head didn't bounce off the turf, right? He didn't take an awkward tumble. No. His neck and head were fine. I didn't see any whiplash off that, that play. It was the play like you're talking about before that, where he took helmet to helmet contact.
2 or 3 plays before.
Yeah.
And, sometimes I played football, and sometimes when you get a concussion, it takes 4 or 5 minutes before you realize you have a concussion.
Depending on the grade. Yeah. Depending on the severity. Yeah.
And listen, sometimes it gets you right away. You shake your head and, oh, okay, I'm fine. Just walk it off. But it's not that way anymore in the NFL. So when they see you shake your head, or they see you not doing things correctly, so maybe he wasn't thinking fully when, he went across the middle and trucked that guy.
Yeah.
And didn't slide. So I'm thinking that is when he was fully concussed. He just was out of his mind, didn't know what he was doing then. But he was doing everything he could to try to score in that game and keep us ahead of the sticks. And listen, that's the kind of kid I want to watch. I want to watch somebody that has the ability, not only to throw the ball, but to run the ball a little bit. And Goff can do it too. Goff is more of a thrower of the ball, but when Goff has to, he can run the ball, and he's done it before. Everybody thinks that Goff is, Scott Mitchell standing back there like a slug and never running the ball. Well, he does once in a while. He does run the ball, and he can when he wants to. Now he does trip over his shoes and when nobody's near him. But every once in a while, you'll see Goff score a touchdown or get a 10-yard run. Not very often, but he can do it.
Yeah. Looks like we're just joined by Lions Talk by Chat Sports. Good morning, Mike Kimber. How you doing this morning? Glad you could stop by today. Yeah, it's interesting that, again, going back to Broski's trolling here, that he thinks that, a guy coming off an injury shouldn't be running around like that. Like that's his game. Like that's what Hendon Hooker is. He's 2 years removed from this injury, or just about 2 seasons removed from this injury. He's fully healed. There's no worry about his knees at this point. He needs to get out there and run and feel confident, because if he's not, then he's going to stand back in the pocket and get creamed because he's afraid to move. And I just don't feel like that's a good way. Did I want to see him run as much? Probably not. I wanted to see him sit back there and thread the ball a little bit better. But look, it was his first 2 series. I think that he just wanted to get the cobwebs out. He saw an opportunity. He took it. And it got the ball all the way down to the goal line. Suspect play calling, in my opinion, did not allow that play to get into the end zone. Now, I don't feel like he should have ran the last ball. I felt like he should have tried to do something different. But if we go back to what we just said, if his bell was already rung, that's why his decision-making was a little suspect, right? Mm-hmm. Now, prior to that, I think he was making decent decisions. Maybe there was one that coach didn't like, or 2, I don't know. But in my opinion, I think that in your opinion, he was already feeling the head buzz multiple plays before that. So, maybe he didn't feel like passing the ball was a great option, and he didn't tell anybody, and maybe it just slowly kind of crept in, because it was not, hold on. It was not it wasn't a vicious hit. I mean, it was enough, obviously, to do some damage. But I don't think that we're looking at a concussion here that is, on a severity level that's extremely severe. Now, obviously, I don't know that, because I haven't seen any reports. I'm not a doctor. But if it was extremely severe, we would have seen him, like Tua on the ground, or Matt Stafford last year in the playoffs, eyes rolling back in your head, or, other guys, hands are twitching, and, like those are really bad, concussions. This one, I feel like he got his bell rung. It's been a minute. He hasn't taken a whole lot of hits. And, it crept up on him. So Hendon's going to be fine. As far as the rest of the injury report, though, let me get into the rest of that. So Sam Laporta is dealing with a hamstring right now. He didn't see any action, obviously, in last week's preseason opener. I haven't seen an update on this, if he's, fully healed yet, or if he's still kind of day-to-day. The James Houston bone bruise. So I haven't seen, again, any more updates on this as far as, is he going to get in this Saturday? Is he going to play? Is it really worth it? I don't think that James Houston is a bubble candidate right now, especially with the loss of Kaminsky and Bada and Nate Lynn and Gilbert. Look, Houston's not going anywhere. I feel like, if anyone's saying that Houston's on the bubble right now, I don't see it. That would be an incredibly bad decision. You keep that guy on the roster, and you just see what he does over the first couple of weeks, and then you could find somebody after cut week to put on the roster that maybe you bring up later. But Nate Lynn, obviously, we said he's out, he's on IR. Ennis Rakestraw. So yesterday we had a day, right? Was it yesterday or 2 days ago? It was Monday.
Monday, yeah. So
Rakestraw left practice early on Monday after sustaining an ankle injury. Was he carted off? Was that the whole issue, that he was carted off or something, and people were freaking out at practice? Because there was something flying on Twitter about all this, that there was big overreactions, and the way things were written. I saw a few things by some beat writers. I'm not gonna call them out, but that maybe there was some overreaction to some of this. That maybe some fans also, obviously I know fans panicked. Jahmyr Gibbs, him going down with a hamstring injury. That one is not as bad as what we're thinking here. That one's more day-to-day, kind of week-to-week. He shouldn't miss any regular season time. And neither should Ennis Rakestraw. Terry Arnold, kind of in the same boat, right? He left Monday's practice with a pec injury. When I saw that, I'm like, you've got to be effing kidding me. Like Mosley, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, and now Terry Arnold. And the fact that we found out, a few hours later, the grade, not bad, shouldn't miss any regular season time. It's like, whew. And even though we have Ennis right behind him, like, I'm super impressed with Ennis right now. Super impressed. Yep. Not worried about this DB room right now until I see these guys with some ones, and that could change our mind, but we'll see what happens. So those were three extremely big injuries to starters and Ennis Rakestraw, who should be a big rotational guy, right? I think that really set the panic for the Lions fans. The panic button was definitely pressed. And I think we're okay. Like, y'all can take a breath. We're all good. These guys are going to be back. The Lions, I have a feeling they're not going to put these guys in any harm's way. They know who these guys are. They don't need any preseason time. Of course, I would love to see Jameer out there running the ball, but we'll probably see him back by week 1. And if anything holds up their progress, it is what it is. But, we'll be fine. I'd rather see these guys in it for the long season. Connor Galvin obviously lost for the season with the knee injury. I mean, that sucks for him. But my biggest one of the day is Antoine Green. Concussion was more than a concussion. So when he went down, I think I said during the game, he rolled over on his face. That's not good. So when he rolled over, obviously it was more than what it was being talked about at that point. We find out later, and Eric, you had found some information too that we're looking at neck injury.
Yep.
And I know all too well about neck injuries. I just had my MRI reviewed last night, and it's not easy. It's not fun. So he must have a disc issue, or he could have a small fracture. I don't know. I haven't seen any reports, but this is more than a concussion. That is why Dan Campbell said this is a tough injury. The Antoine Green was released. Obviously, now he's brought back. He's on the IR for the Lions. There may or may not be an injury settlement here. They can stash him on IR and see, if he develops. But this could be Antoine Green's final days in Detroit, which sucks because he's got so much potential. He really does. What are your thoughts on the injury report as a whole? And then we'll move on from this.
Well, we do have a MASH unit going on. We're getting lots of guys injured, but the one thing that's promising about all of this is it's mostly guys that are second, third, fourth, fifth string, and it's guys trying to make the roster. They're trying to make the 53-man, and they're putting in everything they have, every ounce of their being, trying to make this team. So it shows me that the people on the bottom end of the roster, the churn, right? The guys that are sometimes camp bodies, UDFAs, and 6th, 7th rounders, these guys are putting it all on the line. Everything they have in every single practice, trying to make this team. And it's going to make our team better. And it's going to seem like we have way more injuries than we've ever had before in the preseason. But if you go back and look, I'm sure it's pretty similar to every year. Pretty normal that we have guys get injured in the preseason. I would ask, do you think in the future of the NFL that we drop a preseason game, go to 18 regular season games, and maybe even get rid of the preseason altogether and just go down to 1 or 2 scrimmages with other teams or practices with other teams, and that's it? I think
I don't know. I mean,
format may be better than what we're doing right now.
We're definitely going to 18 games. I mean, they've spoken to that. So we're definitely going to be going to 18 games, which would eliminate a preseason game. It's just, when is that going to happen? Is that going to The talk was at the end of this current collective bargaining agreement, which I think expires in 5 years from this season, 5 seasons from this season, that then they can reevaluate and add that 18th game. I don't know if they're able to do it before that. I have no idea how their contracts work. So we're definitely going to 18 games. There will only be 2 preseason games, but I see the point here that, does it really make sense to have preseason games? But you could get injured in practice, right? You could get injured in a joint practice. You could get injured in a scrimmage, with your 11-on-11s on your own team. Injuries in this game, it's like, it's not if, it's when,
People get injured in a walkthrough.
Right.
Where there's no hitting. So the turf monster can get you at any time.
Yeah, I probably should have rotated the roster out, but let's get into Lions transactions next. See what's happening for the Lions this week, who they're bringing in, what kind of changes are they making. So Lions have brought in a few players. They've waived a few players. We've got quite a few players that are battling injuries right now. So as of August 11th, obviously they waived offensive lineman Connor Galvin. They placed defensive lineman Nate Lynn on injured reserve. And then they signed linebacker Abraham Buplan, I think that's how you say his name. and tackle Jamarco Jones. And then on August 12th, the Lions decided to, hey, enough's enough. We don't have a third quarterback right now. We need Jake Fromm. So Jake Fromm has been brought into the Detroit Lions to hopefully give us, a little amplification in the quarterback room for these bottom feeders and, the depth chart to maybe get a few extra balls thrown to them this Saturday. They also brought in a linebacker, Ty Summers. Obviously, that is a lateral replacement probably for Deron Gilbert. They also released offensive lineman Ike Botiger. That was obviously a lateral movement probably for tackle Jamarco Jones. And then they also waived injured wide receiver Antoine Green on the 12th, but they brought him back and placed him on injured reserve once he cleared waivers. Yesterday, the Lions also added another DB in Essang Bassi. They signed him to a contract, and that is when they officially waived Deron Gilbert with an injury designation, and that's when they officially put Antoine Green on injured reserve. So the signing of a DB, that's a little weird. Like, we're kind of deep in the DB room. So is this a move just because they're planning on not putting Terrion Arnold and Ennis Rakestraw in the game this Saturday? Probably. That's all I think it is. It's an extra guy to have, on the squad going through practices. That's my guess. Shout out to Adam. $1.99 super chat says, would you put Terrion on Puka week 1? Well, Puka, I think, is done till like week 7, right? He's got a major injury.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think Puka Nakua's got a major injury. Last I heard, I could be wrong. Let me look. But let's just say he's not injured, right? Let's say Puka Nakua is good to go. Here's an update on. Let me get this update on Puka Nakua. Update on Puka Nakua is. No updates. It says McVay didn't have any updates on them. Quote, I wouldn't expect any changes as it relates to tomorrow's practice with the Cowboys with those guys. Last I heard, Puka had like some sort of a knee injury or something going on. Hold on here. Yeah, Puka Nakua suffered a knee injury in joint practice with the Chargers last Sunday. He is week to week in the preseason. According to head coach Sean McVay, there is no structural damage. It's a bursa sac. That's got to be painful. Bursa sacs are filled with fluid. Obviously, they protect, the linings in and around your cartilage, your tendons or muscles or whatever. Prevents kind of the tendon from rubbing on bone, if you will. I get injections into those all the time, man. It's painful. But yeah, so he's week to week. So let's just say he does play. Would I put Terrion Arnold on him? Probably yes. I wouldn't be mad at that. But Carlton Davis, in my opinion, is the more experienced player here, and he can play. Let him play. I would match up mano a mano. Like, let's not put Terrion Arnold's feet to the fire just yet. But I think that he can handle his own. I mean, Terrion's he's playing grown man football right now. He's playing well. So yes and no. I guess it depends on who else is on the roster, because there's been some talk that the Rams may have found another Puka. Who was that? That was I can't remember the player's name though. Hold on here.
You're saying the Rams found another one?
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah. Let's see here. Jordan Whittington, 6th round pick. Said he's playing like grown man with the ball in his hands, and did a great job without it. I really just like him. He's going to be a factor for us. That's what McVay had to say after the game. He had like 6 catches, 74 yards in the preseason game. So they may have found another Puka, which is dangerous for Stafford. I mean, if you give Stafford weapons, that's a problem. So they answer your question, and thank you for the $1.99 super chat. I wouldn't be mad at it, man. I wouldn't. I mean, it is what it is. He's going to have to learn at some point. Clearly, if you are having difficulty, right, with Terrion covering Puka, then you just got to make the switch. I'd rather see these guys travel. I'd rather see them travel and stick to their assignment. But I think Carlton Davis loves the left side of the field more than the right side of the field. So I think we could see that happen too. I can't say that I've noticed that in the few practices that I've been at this year. I haven't really noticed that they're really traveling. So we'll see what happens. What do you think, Eric? Would you put him on Puka?
I say put his feet to the fire. Let's go. The kid was taken in the first round for a reason. And I think that Terrion Arnold was the best DB in the entire draft class. I liked him better than the kid the Eagles took. And listen, he was my favorite corner of any of them in the draft. I thought he should have went top 10, and how the Lions got him, I still don't know. It's crazy for my brain. Doesn't compute that we got a top 10 talent at 24 and traded up to get him with the Cowboys, which still does not compute because they're our hated enemy. And how that went through, I still will never know to this day. But yeah, I'd put him out there.
So shout out to Roger Chappas. He says he wanted to let everybody know that the Rodel Facebook page, which is Rock Down Detroit Lions, they made that moniker for me, or that acronym, is attracting the elite. He had Terrion Arnold in the page commenting on a Facebook post that he made on July 30th about training camp interceptions by Rakestraw. I'm surprised that Terrion Arnold is on Facebook. But it is what it is. I mean, that's kind of cool, man.
He's big on Instagram and X too.
See, and I don't do Instagram or anything, and I suck on X, but I'm there. It is what it is for me. I feel like I'm too old to learn new things sometimes. So Roger and Tracy, they're saying you guys got to smash that like button. We got like over 60 people in here or something like that, and we need to get to 50 likes. Otherwise, those stupid ads, they start playing, and I can't stand them either. So we got to get to 50 likes quickly. If we got 50 in here, we got to get 50 likes. Some people come in and they come out, and then they come in and they go visit other channels, and they come back, and here's what it is. So what's next on our roster this morning? Let's see what we got to talk about. Transactions we covered, injury report we covered. So weekly schedule changes. So let me talk about that for a moment. So as the season progresses, our channels will kind of morph into what makes sense, right? So the morning show will always stay the same. It just may start earlier. We're looking at adding some more morning segments, and I won't spill the beans on who or what or when just yet. We're looking at also adding a nightly segment. Fantasy football. So we didn't get the league started yet. We still have some time. We'll try to get it done this weekend. I got a guy that's supposed to be putting it all together, and bringing in a guy that knows fantasy football well. Eric knows fantasy football really well, but then there's this other guy that I met down at the Hall of Fame that has done it on a giant stage. He knows way more than I could ever even think of about fantasy. I don't know anything really when it comes to all these different fantasy leagues, and I just played straight up fantasy. I never did all these crazy different variations of the game. So he'll come in and do a weekly segment, a weekly breakdown of what you guys are looking for fantasy. And when I say he's won money, he's won considerable amounts of money in championships in fantasy football. So you guys may know who he is. You may not. I don't know, but we'll find out when he comes on. We're trying to get something planned here, probably for next week to start with the first fantasy kickoff show. And then obviously week 1 will be following here in a few weeks after that. And we'll be ready to rock and roll for that. So schedule changes as far as like pregame shows and postgame shows. So obviously if it's an away game, we're probably going to be doing the commentary live, play-by-play of the game. Postgame will follow that. I was the only one doing a halftime show last year, so I'll probably have to figure out a way to cut from the live show, go to the halftime show, and then come back. Not sure how I'm going to work that out yet, but we're going to try. Monday nights will probably change to Tuesday nights for me. So I was doing Mondays and Thursdays, but you have Monday Night Football. So I will probably, instead of doing a live play-by-play for Monday Night Football, which I really don't want to do, it would be Tuesday nights that I would be doing the Rock Down Detroit Lions podcast, off-the-cuff podcast, and then probably back to Fridays or Thursdays. I'm not real sure yet. So there's going to be some changes. Just stick around. I'll make sure that everyone gets updated. But the goal is to be able to get you guys the pregame shows and, ahead of the game. We could do it here in the morning show. I could also do it, at night. It just, some people can only watch one or the other. So I want to make sure that I fit it in for everybody. All right. So what's up next? Jake Bates.
Yeah.
Eric, tell us what you learned about Jake Bates at practice.
Okay. So we were at training camp on Sunday, and when you're at training camp, it's two large football fields side by side, right? And I sat over in the stands on the far side from where the press gets to sit. The press gets to sit right in basically front row in a tent, and they get to see everything. They do most of the major drills right in front of them. So on the other field, on the other side where I was sitting, is where all the kickers and special teamers get warmed up. And that's where they practice. And that is practice for them. So Jake Bates was all by himself over in the field directly in front of me. And there's a couple of things that just blew my mind. And one of them was that Jake Bates was shagging his own balls. So what do I mean by that? So
I didn't notice. I didn't notice that. I didn't see that.
So he was kicking balls to warm up all by himself. So he's got this little T thing that looks like a little triangle or a pyramid, and you put it on the tip of the ball, and then he kicks some warm up kicks, right? And he starts at about 36 yards, right? And he moves back 10 yards at a time. Well, he's only got 3 footballs with him, and he kicks his first 3 footballs right through the uprights, no problem whatsoever. And the balls bounce over by a building and up behind some equipment, and the other one bounces almost over to the other field, and the other one bounces right over by a bathroom. And then I watched Jake Bates run over and have to climb up over this equipment to get one of his balls, and he snags all 3 balls, and he throws them back over, and he's kicking them, back over to where he wants to kick again. And then he lines his tee up another 10 yards back, and then he does it again. And no one is getting the balls for him. And it wasn't until he was kicking from 56 yards that someone actually went and got some of the balls for him. I was like, that would have been the perfect opportunity for someone like me to go out there and get the balls for him. I wouldn't have had a problem doing that. Any fan would have done it for him. Why they don't designate a fan to shag balls for these guys is beyond me. They had somebody doing it for the punter, Jack Fox. He was kicking balls all over the place, and they had somebody right down there to get them for him and bring back the ball for him so he could punt again.
When was this? Was this during practice? Was it before or after?
It was during practice. So this was when they were doing like 7-on-7s, and they were doing like DB versus wide receiver drills on the other side of the field. And I really couldn't see from where I was what was going on the other side of the field. It was too far away. So I was.
It's interesting though. So he always has a shagger. He's always had it. Like they've always had someone. So I'm wondering if
there was nobody.
Yeah, maybe he's maybe he's told the team, look, I want to get right. I want to stay in my zone, and he's got his own little deal that he likes to go get his balls and kind of look at things, talk to himself. You know what I mean? Like just like a golfer would.
Happy, and everybody cheered once they got somebody over there to get the balls for him.
Yeah, it's interesting.
In 15 minutes, he was doing it all by himself, and it was driving me nuts.
Maybe the doc can go ask that question. I know it's not a question that is typically asked. Maybe he can ask why was he shagging his own balls?
Yeah,
but
you guys are always looking for different questions to ask. There's one right there.
Yeah, but you also witnessed that he was going what? I mean, he was hitting. He finished the day on a 64-yarder, right?
Yeah. So at the end of the day, they had their little scrimmage at the end of the day, and I think they had like a minute 30 to go the whole length of the field with the starting offense against the starting defense. And they got a pass over the middle to JMO. He caught it one-handed. They clocked the ball really fast. Jake Bates goes in, kicks a 64-yarder, and that thing had at least another 10 yards on it. At least. It was halfway up the uprights, and he smashed it right dead center, right down the middle. And I watched every kick that he made in warmups, and he started at the 32-yard line, nailed everything, moved it back to the 42, nailed them all. Then he moved back to 56, and that is where he missed his first try, his first attempt. And what he did after he missed that 56-yarder, then he nailed 2 right behind it from 56, and then he moved back to 62. He missed his first from 62, and then he nailed 2 or 3 right after it from 62 and beyond. And what I noticed is both kicks that he missed the other day were to the left and just barely to the left. And he was kicking outside with a little bit of wind, and you saw it was kind of swirly now and then. And
no excuses.
No excuses. But what I noticed is anytime he missed a kick, and he only missed 2, that right after that, he kicked it dead nuts right down the middle and nailed it. And he didn't do it once. He did it twice after a miss. And then he'd move back. So I only saw him miss 2 kicks. He had no one else around him. He's trying to get his accuracy down. And he's doing a very good job at it. And once he got in with, a snapper and a holder, then he was fine. I didn't see him miss a single kick with a holder and a snapper.
Well, that's good to hear. I was obviously down talking with the Crunch Time crew for the majority of practice, and I was watching the first team offense. I really wanted to see Goff and Darius Fountain and others, because Darius Fountain was over there with Goff getting some one work. I got to update this roster because I forgot about the JMO segment today.
I did see, okay, so JMO did run a few routes right in front of me.
Right.
And when it was just one-on-ones, JMO versus a DB, he had a couple of drops. He did. Yeah. And I mean, balls that hit him right in the hands, but it was more of the reaching behind him kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
And he just didn't get turned around in time. But he had 2 of them, I saw at least 2 that hit him right in the hands. And then I did see the one where Goff just put a little too much pepper under it, and JMO just didn't have the wheels to get under that ball, because Goff put everything he had into that ball. And
so, I noticed that JMO was struggling a little bit at practice, and he did have some drops against Terry and Arnold.
He kind of made up for it at the end, though.
Yeah, I don't know. There's been some, there's been some back and forth here. That everyone's allowed to have a bad game or a bad day, right? it happens. We're not perfect people. We're gonna have you're just gonna have a bad day. So it's just JMO stacking days, doing great, and then he has a bad day. I'm not gonna worry about it just now. We'll wait and see what happens. He's just needs to continue to stack the good days, and let's just hope that it doesn't become, an issue in the regular season. I hate to see the drops, but I missed the one play where he did kind of reach behind him, but if it touches your mitts, man, that's catch. You got to catch it. I don't care where the ball is. If it touches your hands, and not fingertips, but if it touches your hands, you've got to catch the ball. The one guy that I was really excited that, finally started to bounce back was Isaiah Williams. And I know it was just a preseason game late in the game, but that was a guy that I said to look out for, right? And he kind of started to pop a little bit. That is a guy that can clearly now, make a run for this roster with Antoine Green down. He can clearly have an opportunity to make this roster. So we'll see where that goes.
Chef's growth from will.
What's that? Oh, you don't want me to go into it. I could say that it's just repetitive. It's just, old habits are hard to kick, right? And he drops a lot of balls. But I'll let it rest for a minute. We'll let it rest.
So just like we're giving JMO a little pass here, we kind of got to do the same with Sudfeld and some of these other guys.
Oh, Sudfeld gets no pass.
Well, listen,
no, put him in the outhouse at Ford Field and don't let him come out, right? And then pick that thing up, the porta potty, and put it on a truck and send it up to Brimley, Michigan, and get rid of it.
Yeah. Well, you know what's going to happen this week? Nate Sudfeld has to play against the starters for the Chiefs, because Andy Reid has already come out and said, I'm playing all my starters for the first quarter. So that's what we're going to see.
Dude, he's done. Like Chris Jones is going to take him out.
Yeah, well, you might get your wish. We might be seeing a lot of Jake Fromm. Jake from State Farm. It's going to happen.
Jeez, Pete's, man. Man. All right, so JMO had some struggles. Hopefully, these things settle down this week. Isaiah Williams, good game towards the end. I'm glad to see that some of these guys are starting to rise. The cream's rising to the top a little bit, but we're still a long way to go. So the back end of this roster, and we'll talk about some roster predictions after the 9:00 hour. Where's this team heading now into the second preseason? Who needs to fill out, show up in this game? Look, if they're playing their ones, if the Chiefs are playing their ones this week, we need to see some action. I know Dan Campbell's been tossing it back and forth on whether he wants to play some ones. I would say it's a mistake, but then again, do you really want your twos beat up that badly? I don't want to see more injuries. I don't want it to be, I don't want to see unsafe play here, but Sudfeld better be, if he's going to be playing, he needs to be in shotgun, and he better take an extra step back and then hurry up and get the ball out, because Chris Jones is going to be coming at him quick. So let me get into the rest of this here. I got to pull up a few things. Anything else you want to add while I'm looking for some things?
Yeah, in my opinion, I think we need to put Goff in bubble wrap and don't let him touch the field in preseason. That is just my personal opinion. I don't want to see Goff out there for a single play. I don't want one series. I don't want a quarter. I don't want a half. Nothing. Just like last year, I don't want to see Goff in the preseason whatsoever. I think he does just fine in practice. He has a firm grasp of this offense. And there's some of the other starters that, I'm not opposed to some of them playing, but Goff, I want him bubble wrapped. I don't want him touched for the whole preseason, because in practice they can keep you from touching the quarterback, but when you get into the game scenario, a preseason game, it's the gloves are off. They can go after him. They can sack him. They can take him down. So that's one thing I kind of wish they would change in the preseason for the quarterbacks, because just like you had Hendon Hooker get hurt on a play like that, where it was most likely that play where it was roughing the passer. If that was a practice or a scrimmage, they're only allowed to touch them. They're not allowed to actually tackle them and take them to the ground.
So let me jump into the chat here for a second. There's a few things that popped in. One, welcome Steve K. Glad you joined this morning. Nice to see you in the house. But I want to talk about what we did before the game. So it was a very late scheduled meet and greet that we did on Sunday. And I know you briefly spoke about it, but in a nutshell, here's what we're going to be trying to do throughout the season. So we're going to be doing some special sales throughout the season with Pro Sports Zone. We're talking like potential backdoor entry into the building, get in and get, special sales. It's not just for the creators that were there. Someone said there was confusion about that it was only for, me and the content creators. No, it was for any fans that showed up. So John Yu, the owner of Pro Sports Zone, he threw a, replica helmet out there for whenever someone made a purchase. You got to fill out your name and a tag, put it in a bucket, and at the end, it was raffled away. I picked out the winner, and Trace was my witness. Jeremy Ballrick of Kneecap Biting, he ended up winning the helmet. I gave away, Tracy and Michael Garrity, they got their gift bags, so that they won some gift bags, like some Facebook stuff and something else, some contests that we do. So it's proof that we give away a ton of merchandise, a ton of Lions gear or helmets. I've got all these helmets, signed Panay Sewell and Chris Spielman helmets that I'm giving away this year. And that kicks off every 500 subscribers. So if you guys haven't subscribed, I would start doing it now, because we're almost there. We're almost to 5,500. Once we get to 5,500, we're going to do the next drawing. which is just a pop-up live and then somebody, gets selected and wins. So lots of cool stuff went out. Eric gave away, Uperlite bags, gift bags with a flashlight and a rock, so you know what these rocks look like, some stickers and some information about his website. Gave away grill covers. So I did door prizes for grill covers. So, people cleaned up. And it also will benefit Rock Down Cancer Foundation in the future where, a portion of the store's sale will end up going towards the Rock Down Cancer Foundation. So it's a good way to support your local creators. It's a great way to support people that need our help, that are battling with cancer or on the backside of cancer. Maybe they need some financial help or whatever. That's what we're trying to build into. It also will flow into the pfufa.org mission. They want to, they're doing a lot of great things over there, and I'm not, in that group just yet. But I'm working this next year so that when I go back down there, I'm going to be able to provide them, with all the backpacks or all the school supplies or a handful of bikes or whatever, so that the PFUFA fans don't have to pay for it out of their pocket. We can raise that money. And we can raise it through this channel. We can raise it through you guys telling me what companies are willing to do this stuff. Maybe companies you work for, companies you own. And if you're directing money other places, this is a great opportunity to do something that's related to football. It's related to fans. And it goes a long way. And it's all for the, great causes, good causes, wholesome, good people. So this event was good, for being late scheduled. It was great. Good turnout. Eric bought the damn belt. He bought the WWE belt underneath me. Like, not happy, Eric. Like, I can't believe you did that to me. That thing is slick. Megan got the crystal shoes, the crazy limited edition crystal lion shoes. Those things are nuts. And they're only at Pro Sports Zone, so you can't find them anywhere else. You can't find them online. I think he can order another WWE belt. I don't know. But you want to talk about a collection of product. Pro Sports Zone has the best collection of all Lions sports gear in the game. Pistons, Lions, Tigers, college. He has a college store across the hall. So if you want all of your Michigan sports in one place, that's where to get it. Pro Sports Zone in Livonia. So shout out to John, you man. Appreciate you being so welcoming and opening and helpful. Good human, good dude. And I appreciate, the connection that was made this year because it's already going a long way. So get out to the next one. I'll make sure that we do a 3 to 4 week ramp up. Next time we will do the podcast from there. We'll start early and we'll do a ramp up so that you guys can come in and get your gear, get a good deal and make it a win-win-win for everybody. You get a deal, we get to help people together. So that's what it's all about. Appreciate everybody that showed up. And congratulations to all the winners and door prize winners and all that good stuff. So, what's next? Do you want to get into the predictions, or projections, I guess, if you will, or let me run through the Lions news here, news and rumors. I'll run through it one more time here to begin the 9 o'clock hour. Jahmyr Gibbs should be fine. Ennis Rakestraw and Terrion Arnold. Neither one of these guys should miss any regular season time. Do not expect to see them back in any preseason work at this point. It's, they're probably going to be held out for an abundance of caution. The Lions are now ranked the 28th most valuable NFL franchise. That'll change. That'll change here soon. We were probably at the bottom for a while, but that'll change. Any other news and rumors around the league or around the Lions is really not much. I mean, the Lions just 35 minutes ago, breaking news, waived Morris Norris. So remember, this is a guy that I said in the very beginning that I did not expect to make the roster. And then just a couple of weeks ago, or about a week ago, I said, man, he's starting to play well. But that preseason game showed us a different side to Morris Norris. He just wasn't ready. Didn't play well. So Lions just waived Morris Norris, Fresno State product. Is what it is. And then they signed somebody. So they also signed another DB, it looks like. Where'd that information just go? Okay. They also signed Javelin Guidry. Now, I don't know who this guy is at all. Why would they waive Morris Norris, who had a strong start to the camp, and then now they brought in another guy? So they just must not like Morris Norris. But he's played. Okay, so I see why. Guidry has played in 32 NFL games in his career with 5 starts. In that time, he has totaled 70 tackles, 1 for loss, 3 passes defensed. He has spent time with the Jets, the Cardinals, the Raiders, the Eagles, and the Falcons. He went undrafted in 2020 before signing with the Jets, with whom he would eventually make the Lions roster. So shout out to Christian Boer, Detroit Lions on Sports Illustrated. Is that how they say that now? Yeah, Lions signed Javelin Guidry. So he's got more experience, right? I think that's a level up. Morris Norris is gone. What do you think, Eric?
I think he was a fringe player anyway. I know you really liked him, but he just wasn't getting it done in the preseason game. And I'm going to leave it to these coaches to know better than I do.
Yeah, I didn't really like him. I think that I liked what he was doing recently, but I always thought from the beginning he was on his way out.
Yeah. He was one of the ones I did not pick for my 53-man roster, and I can't wait till a couple weeks from now when we get to do our final 53-man roster projections.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Look back at the one that we originally did, because some of those players are on injured reserve now that I thought were going to make the team. So it's going to be kind of neat to look back and see who we picked before and who we pick now, and what positions we change our mind on and how many we're going to keep.
So the one guy that, I think this is making a ton of sense right now, who really to me stood out in the game, was Lawrence Strickland. So that might be why Morris Norris is gone, because right now I think Lawrence Strickland is, he's probably going to make this roster. So we'll keep our eyes on Lawrence Strickland, but he kind of had a game. He was all over the place. We'll see where it goes. Hard hitter, man. Guy's violent. Absolutely violent on the field. Let's see. 40 Gumble says, do you guys have any potential camp cuts from other teams you're anticipating that could be a good fit? I don't have those for you today, but I will have them for you next week. We just got to get through the second preseason game before I like to do that part of it, because I need more information, honestly. I need to see, what's going to happen this week as they're starting to ramp up, kind of give, more of the playbook to these guys, open it up. Last week was so vanilla. I mean, it was so boring. It was just, and it was bad football because of Nate Sudfeld. I couldn't make a determination on anything, but looking at the other teams, I need to watch more games, more game tape, and I traveled a lot, so I'd rather do it next week. Steve K, buymeacoffee.com, rocked on. Appreciate you sharing that, buddy. And let's see. Chef Talks Lions says Campbell really likes Strickland. Hey, I wouldn't see why not. I mean, he's been playing well. Looks like Broski Bear's still going at it with people. So another day, another Broski.
Yep.
All right. So Jake Fromm. Fromm. Let's get into this dude for a quick second. So I'm just going to read an article by Christian Boer. I think that he, put enough information into this, but we obviously added Jake Fromm because of Hendon Hooker's injury, and also because of Hendon Hooker's concussion, and the fact that Nate Sudfeld played absolutely terrible. Fromm is obviously the newest addition now to the Detroit Lions, as this article states, but he's from Georgia, so another SEC guy. He's only had 2 career starts for the Giants in 2021. He went 27 for 60 for 210 yards with 1 touchdown, but tossed 3 interceptions across 3 career appearances, so 1 in each game. He's obviously going to be depth, behind Hooker at this point. But when you go back and watch this guy's, Georgia tape, so I watched some highlights, from him from Georgia, it's not all bad. Like, the guy's got an arm. He can chuck the ball. I'm excited to see what he can do with the ball. He's pretty accurate, if he has the time, and he's going to have the time behind this offensive line, especially if he gets behind the ones at all, which probably won't happen. But if he gets behind an offensive line like this, he will have all day to throw the ball. And that's what we need in camp. We need someone that can get these guys the ball, and Nate Sudfeld just can't. Now, in practice, it's a little bit different because they're not getting hit. They're not getting rushed as much. You know, they're kind of able to sit back there and do a little bit more. So Jake Fromm, for me, I think was an upgrade over Sudfeld. He just doesn't have the experience. He doesn't have, you know, the wherewithal from the game experience that would help, you know, Jared Goff in a game situation. And that's where Nate Sudfeld, like I said a couple weeks ago, dude, just retire it, right? Be a coach. Just retire it, hang it up, become an assistant. The Lions have done that before. Just do it. You know, clearly it's not in the cards for him to play in a game. Just be a coach. You can still make great money being a coach. So Jake Fromm, for me, is exciting for right now until I see otherwise. I think it's an exciting move. I do. I think it's a great upgrade over Sudfeld. I just got to see the guy play. He reminds me of a young Kirk Cousins with the way that his arm, I mean, just the ball flies off his arm. That's what he reminds me of, is young Kirk Cousins. Just needs some time to develop within the right scheme and the right people. What do you think about Fromm?
Yeah, Fromm. I
don't
keep
know.
saying
Fromm. I don't know why.
Because he went to what? University of Georgia?
Georgia, yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, Georgia doesn't put out dog crap for QBs. They're usually halfway decent. So I really don't know much about this kid. I'm going to be really interested to see what Saturday brings. Saturday at 4:00 is going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to go over to my buddies and watch the game and give it a go. I know it's going to be probably a pretty rotten game to watch because it's going to be a lot of third and fourth stringers. I don't think we're going to see any starters play whatsoever, even though Campbell hinted that we might possibly do it. But I think you're going to see a very large dose of Jake Fromm. And I sure hope he learned 7 or 8 plays that he can run and run them efficiently and run them well over and over again, because I think that's all you're going to see from him is a very limited staple.
I don't think that there's, let me put it this way. The dude was the SEC Freshman of the Year in 2017, right? He led Georgia to a college football playoff national championship game as a true freshman. That does not happen very often in the SEC.
No.
Especially for a team like Georgia or Alabama, right? They don't typically put freshmen on the field. True freshman. Freshman of the year, help lead this team to a national championship playoff game. Or national championship game, sorry. They lost to Alabama in overtime. What does that tell you? Right? He was able to keep this game close. Now, he was really good at Georgia. And during, you know, his time there, there was only one quarterback that was really better, and that was Joe Burrow, and well, I guess Jalen Hurts. But when he left, he still had 1 year of eligibility remaining, and he entered the 2020 NFL draft. But his draft stock dropped like a rock, is what this article says, and he was selected in the 5th round, number 167 by the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah.
Yep. He lasted parts of 2 seasons with the Bills before the Giants signed him off the practice squad. He made his only 2 starts in 2021 with the Giants, obviously going 0-2, and then spent the last 2 seasons as a backup and a practice squad guy for the Commanders. So he's an interesting opportunity for Mark Brunell. Let's just put it that way.
I'm going to say this. What happened?
I don't know.
Yeah. I'd love to know, did he have a blown ACL? Did he have an injury that just put him behind the 8 ball? You know, that's the information I don't have on the kid. I just don't know.
I don't think that he's had any injuries per se. I can take a quick look. Looks like in 2020, he was questionable for 1 game. So no real injuries that are popping out here. But anyway, it is what it is. It's a depth signing for right now. It's a guy that should be better than Sudfeld with a little bit of time. again, I'm going to repeat myself. I can't believe how loyal Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes are with Sudfeld. Like that should have been a no-brainer the next day, but I think the Hendon Hooker concussion kind of screws with that a little bit. You know, they can't pull the trigger. You know, you can't just.
In game one, what I think is that the plan was to play Sudfeld in the first half, Hooker for the whole second half. And then in the second game, they were going to flip it. So Hooker would get the start for the first half. Sudfeld would play the second half. And then in the third game, you let Hooker play the last 3 quarters or something, or let him start the game and see how he does and let him play for as long as you want. And I think their plan just got discombobulated with this injury.
Yeah. So the question popped up by Chef Talks. Why did his stock drop like a rock? Well, I think if you go back and look at the era, right? This is COVID era when he's coming into the draft. So a lot of issues with not being able to work out. That whole COVID era, like all the players that came in 2020, 2021, 2022 even, all of those players were dealt a dirty hand, especially 2020 and 2021, because everything was done on virtual meetings. They were not in person. It slowed them down an entire year of progress. So Jake comes into the league. He doesn't have the benefit of being able to, walk into a training camp and have in-person camp and practice and, learn in person from the coaches. So I think that's probably what sparked it. And if I remember the combine, he had one of the slower 40 times, but then again, who gives a rip about 40 times? It's a quarterback. Like Tom Brady never uses wheels. Jared Goff doesn't have any wheels. He doesn't use them anyway. You don't need to be a running quarterback. You just need to be able to evade in the pocket, which you can do running a 5, flat 40 or a 4.9 or 4.8 or whatever. So he probably just got a bad rap because he had a slow 40 and then COVID. I mean, I think it screwed everything up for this guy. Maybe not. I guess that'll be my opinion, that he was held back because of the fact that, he couldn't come in and have a normal experience in the NFL. Everything was as abnormal as it could be. So I'm going to rest my hat on that, maybe he just got a raw deal, like a lot of players have. I think DPJ got a raw deal too. When was he brought in? I think he was brought in 2020, right? Or 2019?
Yeah.
And, so for some of those younger rookies, and guys that were brought into the league around that time, they didn't get the benefit of having he was brought in 2022 as well, 2020 as well, I should say. A lot of these guys just did not benefit from a normal workout, routine and doing things in person. So I don't know what happened to Martinez. I think he went to the UFL, Brent, and actually last season, what did he play for, the Battlehawks or something like that, or Stallions? Yeah, a great season. I think he was just signed by, it the Jets?
Yeah, he went to the Jets.
Yeah, he went to the Jets a few weeks ago. So, anyway, let's get into some 53-man. You got a 53-man roster pulled up by chance?
No, I don't.
Or, I mean, a 90-man roster. So, the Lions.
I got that from training camp. I got all that. That's everybody that was on the field that day.
Yeah, and some of those players are now gone.
Yep. Got a few new ones. Yeah, Jake Fromm is not on my list here.
Right.
This is the daily roster from training camp.
Let's see if all of this stuff is accurate. So Maurice Alexander is on here still, so this one's not accurate. Let's go to CBS and see if CBS is accurate. Nope, not accurate. We're just going to have to keep those in mind.
Yep.
Really, the only ones that I care about, though, are the ones that are really on the bubble here. So quarterback, I don't think it's a secret, guys. It's Jared Goff. It's Hendon Hooker until otherwise. That one's easy. Agree?
Oh, yes.
Okay,
yep.
Good.
100%.
Running back. To me, this one's easy. It's Jahmyr Gibbs. It's David Montgomery, in that order. even though that they can be reversed and flipped and they play kind of different styles. And then it's Sione Vaki. And I think that, I'm going to have to look up our old sheet, but it's Craig Reynolds. Lions keeping 4.
Yeah.
What do you
think? I believe so too now. Yep. Yeah. Craig Reynolds, he's too vital for this team to get rid of. And Vaki, being a 4th round draft pick, and he's all over on special teams. And you even saw him play a couple of plays at safety. So, the kid is super versatile. He's out there on kickoffs and punt returns and everything else. So he's not going anywhere.
All right.
Be fun to watch.
Wide receiver. So this one's kind of tough right now because you got Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jamison Williams. He's not going anywhere. Whether he's the 2 or the 3 right now, he's the 2.
Yep. And then you got Khalif.
And a couple weeks ago, I said, maybe Khalif doesn't make this roster if, some of these taller receivers finally start to step up. They're not stepping up. So Khalif has been, fairly consistent. But at the same time, I want to say, and I could be a little off here, that Dan Campbell made the comment that really nobody after the number 2 has really been consistent in showing up this season, which includes Khalif Raymond. So I hope I'm not wrong with that statement, but I think that's what I read last night or heard on my drive home last night, that really nobody after the number 2 is secure. And there's really no decisions because no one's stepping up. So if Khalif is in that boat, that means that he could be, the 4. He could be the 5. If they keep 6, he could be the 6, depending on what happens, because Donovan Peoples-Jones finally took a step forward in Monday's practice. So
I'll tell you, in Sunday's practice, every ball that went Khalif Raymond's way, he caught it, and it went for good yardage. He didn't put a single ball on the ground. Nothing went off his fingertips. He caught everything that came his way.
Yeah, so Justin G., the cut of Antoine Green was not related to his ability. It was related to injury. So if you notice after each preseason game, the Monday following, what happens is a rash of cuts and waves and injury designations happens every season. So the Monday after truly should be called the Monday after. There's just a lot of things that transpire over the weekend that all the NFL teams have to do. So you waive a guy with an injury, no other team is typically going to pick him up, clearly, and then you can stash him on your IR and or injury. If you injury settle, then you know that they didn't have any confidence in the guy and they're done with him. But if they keep him on IR, then you know that they had, potential for the guy, and they want to keep him around, get him rehabbed, keep him with the trainers, and see if there's an opportunity for him to come back later on in the season. All right, so top down, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamison Williams, Khalif Raymond, and this is where it gets weird to me, but I'm going Darius Fountain at 4. I'm going DPJ at 5.
Yeah.
I'm going Isaiah Williams at 6. If they keep 6.
I say they probably only keep 5, but they may bring someone in from another team after cuts.
Yeah, they could. They absolutely could. But I think right now, Traquan Smith, he's just not doing enough. Tom Kennedy, look, that's Tom Kennedy syndrome every year. He's going to have a couple of great plays, and then, he's going to be stashed on the practice squad, hopefully.
Even he hasn't done anything yet. I didn't know.
Well, I think it's Sudfeld's fault, though.
Yeah.
I really do. I think that, you need a solid third quarterback.
Yeah, but is Sudfeld that much better than Tim Boyle, or who's the other guy we had?
No. I think you're saying it the other way around. I think Tim Boyle and David Blau are better than Sudfeld.
Do you think so?
I think that they made better passes when I was at camp. I think they for surely made better opportunities for these guys, or gave them better opportunities. You'd have your boneheaded plays here or there, but if you go back and look at when Tom Kennedy was having success, who was throwing on the ball?
Well, I can tell you this. Tim Boyle throws a ball that's easily catchable because he threw the ball to me in the stands when I went to the Minnesota Viking game. I caught it and I threw it right back to him. And yeah, so he's got nice touch on the throw, but he just can't hit a receiver to save his life when they're moving around. He's pretty good when somebody's stationary up in the stands.
Roger, answer your question here, asking if there's a limit to IR designations at any one time, and the limit is 8. The last I knew in 2023. I don't think that they made any changes to that in 2024. I thought that there was some talk about postseason designations being unlimited or something like that for the postseason. I think that it kind of restarts, refreshes, which is something I talked about last year. Matter of fact, had plenty of conversations, even with when Derek was on at times, that, that was something that we were both trying to get answered and understand, hey, what's going on here, in the postseason? Do all these get to kind of reset? I would like to say that we were part of that change, that we were asking for it to be unlimited because it just didn't make any sense that you penalize these guys. So 8 is the answer right now. If I find a different answer, I will let you know. I firmly believe that Blau and Boyle were making better passes than what Sudfeld did this past Sunday or this past Thursday. And I think that's why Tom Kennedy was, having the success that he did. So again, down the list on the wide receiver room for me, and you could tell me if you disagree, but Amon-Ra, Jameson Williams, Khalif Raymond, Darius Fountain, Donovan Peoples-Jones. If they keep 6, Isaiah Williams, the odd man out right here, who I think is a bubble player that could leapfrog Williams, is if Caden Davis has an incredible couple of weeks here. But Isaiah Williams, he kind of showed up.
Yeah, Davis has been making some noise. He got a couple good balls while I was there.
And Alexander's already gone, right? So we don't have to worry about him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Maurice Alexander was waived. Morris Norris was waived.
Was that today?
I believe Alexander was gone. Hold on, let me double check now. Make sure my notes are right.
I didn't know he was gone because he did kick return stuff too. He was there on Sunday because he wore number 1.
Oh, he's definitely not number 1.
Well, he's number 1 on their jersey numbers.
I thought that he was waived. Hold on here.
I don't think so.
Hold on here. I'm pretty sure he was.
Unless something happened yesterday.
Hold on here.
I didn't see anything for yesterday on the list I looked at. Yesterday was Gilbert and Antoine Green were the waiver wire. Hey, we'll see you later, Steve K. Have a good day.
All right, buddy. You take care, man. All right, I'll come back on this. I could have sworn I saw Alexander waived. And it just popped up on X somewhere. Maybe not. Sorry, Maurice, if I'm wrong, but yeah, I thought I saw that. We'll have to come back on that one. I apologize for that.
You might be watching this morning. Oh, damn, I didn't even know.
So here we go. Tight ends. Who you got?
Let's see. Sam Laporta. And then we're going to have Brock. And then I think it's going to be Shane Zylstra. And that's it.
You know who I've been kind of falling for here is Parker Hess.
Yep. If we keep 4, that would be the one I would say also.
He really stood out in the game to me. He lined up at the H-back position, I think, 8 times in the game. Made some incredible blocks. The guy is chippy as all get out. Loves to throw the shoulder around. When you look at him, he just looks like a big linebacker.
Yeah, that was a heck of a ball he caught over the middle too, and then got smashed right away.
Yeah, and it didn't phase him. You know, that was
Yep.
great concentration by a tight end going over the middle with the ball behind him. Go figure, Sudfeld. I think it was Sudfeld that threw that ball.
Yeah, it was.
And Peter, I'll come back to that question on Mahogany in just a minute. So, Parker Hess, if the Lions keep 4 tight ends, I think it would make sense, but then I think they only keep 5 receivers. And if they keep 4 tight ends, I think they only keep 3 running backs. So depending on what happens with the defensive side of the ball, like we dropped a few players. So where the Lions are probably going to, in my opinion, I thought that they were going to be a little bit deeper on the defensive line and edge position. That may not happen now because we just lost Lynn. We just lost Bada. You know what I mean? We lost some guys that were actually in the running, in my opinion, to make this squad. So my top 4, same with you. Laporta, Wright, Zylstra, Hess. The bubble watch here, or the battle, in my opinion, is Hess and Zylstra. Will the Lions keep 4? They haven't done it since 2022, so we'll see what happens there. Center, look, I don't think the Lions keep an extra center this year. I think they keep Frank Ragnow. So on the offensive line, it's clearly Frank Ragnow, no backup because you have Graham Glasgow. Taylor Decker on the left side, Penny Sewell on the right, Graham Glasgow left guard, and Kevin Zeitler right guard. As far as backups go, right now you have Giovanni Manu. See, this is you know what? Maybe that Maurice Alexander thing that I saw, because it also said Coyote Awosika. It could have been from last year. Because I don't, like you said, I don't see anything on the waiver or on the transactions list.
He was cut and brought back a bunch of times last year.
Yeah. So as far as backups go, look, I think Dan Skipper is on this team this year. I know I was waffling back and forth on Dan, but I don't think the Lions are going to go through the season without Dan. Dan Skipper, Giovanni Manu, right now are my main backups with Kobe Sorsdahl. Those are your 3 backups. So those are your 8 offensive linemen. Now, Christian Mahogany is an interesting situation. If Christian Mahogany can get himself back to playing weight and strength and get a couple of reps underneath them, it is possible that he just makes this roster flat out without being on some sort of a list, right? Right now, the Lions, well, that was July 27th. So Mahogany is still on the NFI list. And he's going to remain on the NFI list until he's cleared to practice. And once he's cleared to practice and he comes off that list, then that means the Lions have to make a decision on cut day. Because they can't put him back on NFI. So it's either injured reserve, or something to that degree, so that they don't have to cut him. He would then just remain on the Lions team in an injured reserve capacity, which would keep him out the first 4 weeks of the season, which would give him plenty of time to come back. So one way or the other, Christian Mahogany is on this team. That's your 4th backup. So in place of him, it's either going to be Coyote Awosika. We just lost Connor Galvin, who was actually playing decent. And now we brought in Jamarco Jones. So we just don't know about, Jamarco Jones, 6 years out of Ohio State. I don't have enough information on him. Kingsley Aguakan, I think that's how you pronounce his name. He actually played okay in the game. So we've got 3 rookies right now: Brian Hudson, Kingsley Aguakan, and Duke Clemens. And I can't say anything about the other 2, but Kingsley I thought did okay. Okay for a rookie, that just got thrown in there. But in my opinion, right now it's Coyote Awosika. I think that he's going to be your other backup. So that would give the offensive line 9. With Christian Mahogany being on an NFI list or an injured reserve list, probably to start the season. What do you think?
Yeah, that's about right. Initially, I had Mahogany making it on the 53, but he might start off on injured reserve and take the first 4 weeks off. And I think that'd be the best thing for him. Means he won't be able to practice for a while, but if he was as sick as everybody thinks he was, COVID, flu, whatever it was, he was pretty darn sick for a couple of weeks and had to have lost some weight. He's going to have to put some weight back on, put some muscle back on, get back into playing shape. He's been there for the meetings virtually, and now he's back in the building. So he's there at practice on the sidelines. He just can't participate yet. So that might be the best thing for him, is to take the next 6 weeks off and get back to it when you can. Because I don't think if you tried to put him on the practice squad, I don't think it would work. I think somebody would try to snag him up.
Oh, I'm sure that they would. Absolutely they would. So, we've already, just this last 14 days, we put Moody on injured reserve. So we lost that guard who was actually playing pretty well. He was having a good camp. Who else did we lose on the? We lost Connor Galvin in the game, and he was having a good camp. So those are guys that would have been fighting for spots, man. We waived Matt Farniak. I'm surprised that they didn't bring back Farniak. So they released Ike Boetiger, however you say his last name. And he was not having a good camp. But they also, like I said, they waived Matt Farniak back on July 28th, and I'm surprised they didn't bring him back before signing a new guy. It's kind of an interesting move, but clearly they wanted a tackle, not just an offensive lineman that you just don't know where he fits. So yeah, Ricks is definitely not sneaking Mahogany on the practice squad. Yeah, that won't last. I think that's a great opportunity for the Lions to stash him somehow, but it's going to have to be on a list. And look, it is what it is. I mean, the guy's been away from football for weeks. Ever since OTAs or rookie minicamps and OTAs, he's been gone. He's been sick. Just glad he's back. Glad he's healthy. Glad he's able to start putting in the work. So I see the Lions keeping 9, putting Mahogany on some sort of a list. Defensive end. So we lost David Bada. We lost John Kaminsky. Man, I really liked what Ukwu was doing. Ukwu was making this team. So I got my 2 bets. Got Aiden Hutchinson, but I'm going to start 1-2. Aiden Hutchinson, Marcus Davenport. That's your 1-2. Behind them, my 2 bets is making this team. Ukwu is making this team. And Josh Paschal is making this team. If James Houston is listed as a defensive end, he's making this team. That's 6. I think they keep at least 5, potentially 6. The only one that would be on the outs there, could be Matu Betts, but I think he played too vicious and was a little bit disruptive in the game. I saw a lot. I can't wait to see more this weekend. And hopefully he gets in early against, if they truly put some ones in there, put him in early. Let's see what he can do against a top-level offensive lineman.
Yep.
So I think the Lions keep 6 defensive ends because you've got some hybrid players in there that are inside-outside guys. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm pretty down with all of that. I really need to see Betts turn it on in these last 2 preseason games. Same with Houston. In my opinion, Houston is kind of on the bubble. They took him out of the Sam linebacker position. They said, that's it. We're done with that experiment. And now he is strictly an edge rusher.
I'm sorry, who was that?
For James Houston.
Oh, yeah.
They said that little experiment is done. They put too much on his plate. And they did the same thing with Betts. They said, nope, we're just going to leave him at end. We're not going to do the linebacker thing. It's too much on his plate. And they did that right away. But yet with Houston, it lasted almost a whole full season here, where they were trying to integrate him into being a linebacker as well as an edge rusher. And it just didn't work.
Well, maybe they listened to, I'm not going to say me because that was my big bone to
Me
pick
too.
with. I was pissed last year when you're putting James Houston in a position that isn't natural to him.
Yeah.
What happened to the AG that said we're going to put these guys in a situation to win? These guys are going to do what they do best, and then you go and totally change all that up. I understand you're trying to, cross train these guys. You want more depth. You want more positional villain, right, on this team. I get it.
I think they get hung up on this whole versatility thing sometimes, playing multiple positions. If you're good at one position and that's it, just let them play that position. Because like Rick's saying in the chat, that James Houston was our lowest graded player in week 1 of the preseason.
It was terrible. It was god awful.
He was 28.6 or something.
Yeah.
And that's god awful. That's because they were putting him in a Sam linebacker position. He wasn't just on the edge trying to rush the passer. And that's what they need to do with the kid. And I'm glad that little experiment is over. And if he's going to make this team, him and Betts, they're going to have to make it as edge rushers. And those are the two players that I'm probably going to watch the most on Saturday.
I hope that bone bruise doesn't keep Houston out. I don't think that it will, but we'll see where that develops. And I'm in agreement with this, man. I think that Matthew Betts has to make this team as an edge rusher. That's why he was brought in. He's got, elite break off the ball. He's got a keen eye for the snap. Last year, it was last year. No, it was this year when I broke down his tape. And go watch it. Go watch it on the YouTube channel. Look up the Matthew Betts tape. Watch the things that I put together there because he was already launching when that ball wasn't even snapped yet, but he was still perpendicular to the line. So he was launching right into and across the line as soon as that ball was snapped. And that's why he was so quick off the edge. Fun to watch. But I think that the Lions could keep 6 here. I really do, especially with Josh Paschal being an inside-outside guy. So now defensive line. Broderick Martin. Dude, like this guy. I saw some of the most violent hands I have seen in a long time come from Broderick Martin. When he launched that dude, and I think Michael Garrity has reminded me a few times, it was third quarter, about 7:20 in, Broderick Martin completely threw that guy back off the line. He came up and just popped him like that, right? And the guy just exploded backwards. It's like he pushed him through his pads and out the other end. That's what I've been waiting to see out of Broderick Martin. He has slimmed down. He's playing faster. He's playing underneath and behind his pads. He's not, top heavy like he was last year. Last year, I watched him get, latched onto by a center and literally guided around, kind of like what you saw with Ennis Rakestraw when Ennis was driving that dude out of bounds on one of that first, play, in the flats there. That's kind of what happened to Broderick Martin. He was getting latched onto by guards or centers, and they were just kind of pushing him wherever they wanted him to go. At 340 pounds or whatever he was last year, 350, that shouldn't happen. Big improvement by Broderick. I'm glad to see that he's about to prove a lot of people wrong and some of us right. I think that he's going to have a good season. He makes this team. Clearly, Lee McNeil makes this team. Mekhi Wingo. I haven't seen enough yet, but I do like what I see. I don't think he's going anywhere. Kyle Pecco. I think Kyle Pecco's making this team. So there's 4. The last guy that I think is going to make this team is Levi Onwuzurike. Now, he has been playing pretty well. Listening to him talk the other day, really impressed. Really impressed with where his head is. Very well-spoken individual. Loved everything that he said. I'm super excited to see him, finally get back to the person that he was, the player that he was. Lions keep, 11 defensive linemen? That would be a ton. But I think that those are your top 11. I don't think that Chris Smith is sniffing this roster. But when you look at our defensive tackle room right now, we're kind of light, right? We also got DJ Reader. So Broderick Martin, Lee McNeil, Levi, Mekhi Wingo, they're all making this roster. Kyle Pecco, I think he makes this roster until DJ Reader comes back, and then obviously there's going to be a lateral move somewhere. I don't know why CBS Sports doesn't even have DJ Reader listed on this roster. Doesn't make any sense. So I think there's your answer. Someone's going to be NFI'd, and it's probably going to be DJ Reader. What do you think?
Yep, I am down with all of that. I want to see more out of Wingo in the preseason. We just didn't get to see a whole lot of him, but Dan Campbell was impressed with what he did see. He was always around the ball. He was always in the backfield, and the kid made his presence known. Even though he didn't show up on the stat sheet, he was there for other people to make the stat sheet.
Yeah, that's what do I call that? I call that the hive defense, right? You know, sometimes you don't have all the stats, and that's okay. When you watch the tape, so you've got people like me that love stats and analytics, right? The metrics, the KPIs, but I also enjoy the eye test and watching the players perform. So if you don't see it on the stat sheet, that doesn't mean they didn't show up. That doesn't mean that they didn't help this team win. It just means that they did it in their own way. Speaking of the defensive line, we'll have a special guest on for you guys hopefully next week, working out the dates and times, but all 22 is going to be coming on the show, and he's going to be talking about the defensive line, and maybe we'll get into some more topics as well. But if you guys don't know or haven't watched, which I'm sure all of you have, watch the all 22 football highlights and all that on YouTube. I'll post one of his videos later today or something in the community chat, but he'll be coming on. He'll be talking to us all about our Detroit Lions. Detroit Lions are his favorite second team. I believe the Ravens might be his first team, if I understand his content. Linebackers, who do you got?
Linebackers. So Alex Anzalone, Barnes, Jack Campbell. And then after that, it's probably Rodrigo. And I'm not sure who after that.
You don't have a list in front of you, do you?
Nope, I sure don't. I just have the list of everyone. And let me see. Linebackers. Oh, sure. So it's got Gilbert.
Gilbert's gone.
Malik Jefferson. It's got Neiman. Agude. Let's see. Yeah, this is all jumbled all over the place. That's the players it has. And, after the first 3 or 4, nobody's really stood out to me so far anyway, from what I've watched.
Yeah, Brent, to your comment about Onwuzurike's name, I've heard it pronounced both ways. I heard Chef C says it one way, and I hear other people say it another way. I'm going to say it my way. Levi O from now on.
Levi. Levi is so much easier. I can't say the other. I can't say his name.
All right, linebackers. This one's starting to get a little thick. Obviously, Alex Anzalone's on this squad. Derek Barnes is on this squad. Jack Campbell's on this squad. Huh?
Jalen Reeves-Maybin. I forgot him.
Yeah, so those are your 3 starters, with Jalen Reeves-Maybin being your glorified special teamer. He might leapfrog, somebody else on this team to be in the starting role. But that's your top 4. Really loved what I saw out of Malik Jefferson. Malik Jefferson had a good game. I mean, for somebody that was only up on the team for a very, very, very short, period of time and learning this defense, he had a great game. Made some phenomenal plays. Looked fast, running around the field. So Derek Barnes, Alex Anzalone, Jack Campbell, and Jalen Reeves-Maybin. Those are your top 4. Then you got Malcolm Rodriguez. I think the battle is here. Malcolm Rodriguez, Malik Jefferson, Mitchell Agude. I don't think Beauplan has a chance. I did like Ben Nyman in the middle. Ben Nyman actually looked very comfortable And outside of, the 2 runs that kind of got through the middle that I can't really blame all of it on Nyman. I think he had a pretty successful game. And I do like Nyman's versatility. So I think that Ben Nyman has an edge right now to be a very good backup to Jack Campbell. But Mitchell Agood was playing pretty well too. So could we see the Lions keep 6 linebackers? We could. That means we're going to have to lose somebody off the defensive side of the ball, the defensive line and or a DB. But your top 4, Anzalone, Barnes, Campbell, and Mabin with Ben Nyman, Mitchell Agood, and Jalen Reeves-Mabin and Malcolm Rodriguez kind of battling out that 5th, 6th spot, probably only 5. Forgot about Mekhi Wingo. I didn't mention Mekhi Wingo when we were talking about defensive tackles for whatever reason. Obviously, he's making the squad. Pretty good game out of him. I didn't see enough out of him, though. I think I did mention him, but anyway. Terrion Arnold for the cornerbacks. He's in. Brian Branch, he's playing safety. Carlton Davis, he's in at cornerback. Ennis Rakestraw, he's in. Amik Robertson had a hell of a game. Loved what I saw out of Amik. Does Kendall Vildor make this squad?
He's on the edge for me.
So Khalil Dorsey got burned in the game, but then I see him come back and make some really good plays. I don't know if I can trust Khalil Dorsey, but he is someone that can also return punts and kicks.
Yeah. Then you've got Gilmore, and I don't know about that kid either. It's scary. After we get past our first 4 or 5 there, it's really scary in the backfield.
Well, we know Emmanuel Mosley's gone. We know Morris Norris is gone. So I think that really just helped out the bottom end of the DB room. I think it's pretty solid. Here's where I think it's going to end up. Terrion Arnold, Carlton Davis, Ennis Rakestraw, Amik Robertson, Khalil Dorsey, Kendall Vildor. Lions keep 6.
Yeah.
Everybody else is practice squad worthy. Safety room, you've got Brian Branch, Kirby Joseph, Ifeatu Melifonwu, Lauren Strickland. Lauren Strickland, the battle is going to be CJ Moore and Lauren Strickland.
You don't think Brendan Joseph has a chance?
I didn't say him?
No, because he had an interception in the game, and then he's had one each practice since.
So it should be Branch, Melifonwu, Joseph. Oh, I said Joseph, but I didn't say it twice.
Kirby.
Yeah. Joseph, and then the battle is Strickland Moore.
There we go. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, Strickland Moore. Could the Lions keep 5 safety? That'd be a ton. Yeah. Of course, I'm not writing all the numbers down this morning, so I'm not real sure where we are on the 53. But I think that those are obviously your top guys. I mean, we can run through it again next week, after the game, and we'll write it all down. We'll get through the second preseason game. Today was just all about having a conversation. Haven't been back in the saddle for a minute. So tomorrow morning, we're going to be doing the pregame show. Eric, you weren't here last week for the pregame show.
No.
Okay. So pregame show, we're going to be breaking down the Kansas City Chiefs offense versus the Lions defense, and then vice versa. We'll take a look at the roster together, figure out who's going to play, and what we need to see out of these guys, our bubble watch guys, break in, breakouts. So kind of gave you the version today of who we feel are, the best men on the roster. But it's the bottom end of this roster that I think the battles are the most exciting, and those are going to be the guys that get a lot of time. I can't imagine that the Lions are going to waste a lot of time for guys that they feel are in the top 3, or depending on the position, top 2. Those guys aren't going to get a lot of time. I mean, why risk an injury? We are already down like 10 guys already this year. It's just not a good way to go through camp in the preseason. Like, it's too many injuries already. Obviously you're not blaming your performance center, you're not blaming, your trainers or anything like that. But, I think everyone needs to temper the expectations for the next couple of weeks, and let's just see where things go. If we're not healthy by week 1, we could get off to a rough start. Brent Lighton says, I hope Brandon Joseph gets a lot of playing time these preseason games. He was an awful tackler coming out of college. Like the worst I've seen at safety from someone who has been high draft aspirations at Notre Dame. I didn't really watch much of his tape, so I couldn't really comment on that. But Peter Van Laarhoven says, what's really tough is the fact that our cuts will be picked up, not allowing us to put guys on the practice squad. I think that's a great point. We're finally at a position now with this team where, we're too good and we're too deep. And I think that that's a great look. Last week's defense was exciting in the first quarter. Exciting. And then they changed something. And then Gray decided to run all over us. So be excited that what we saw in the first quarter is going to be better than what we saw come regular season. And even, yes, going up against number ones, I think our number ones are going to be even that much more better. Shout out to Michael Garrity, $5 super chat. Says, glad to have the show back. Mornings aren't the same without the rise and grind. Sunday was awesome, by the way. Appreciate you showing up, Michael Garrity.
I got to say congrats to Michael Garrity because I chose him and I let him know on Sunday that I'm taking him to the Tampa Bay game. And it's going to be an awesome time, and I can't wait to go, Michael. We're going to get our first game together. It's going to be awesome.
Well, congratulations, Michael, on winning the Uper Light giveaway for Tampa Bay. Good job. Brent Lighton, again, I think that's a great comment, man. We need to see these guys play. I'm going to have to look into Joseph's previous tape. I'll try to watch some of his old tape and see what you're seeing there. But Brett Lighton says Moore is good on special teams. Look, CJ Moore was a special teams ace. I think it's just going to be tough to crack this roster because now you put Branch back there. Totally changes everything. Unless they consider Branch still the nickel, the nickel back, and they're going to leave the safeties alone, but then put Branch back at safety. What I love is, and we'll go through this tomorrow, is the versatility, that they speak about. It's now extremely versatile. For this team is going to confuse a lot of defenses. Does that make sense? They're going to confuse a lot of defenses.
Yeah.
Before we get out, though, let's get in a quick ad from Sports Spider. Is here and you want the latest news and rumors on your Detroit Lions. Head to sportspider.com. That's sports, SPYDER.com, where you can get your Lions news and all your sports in one place. Man, this site is packed with your favorite podcasts, live news, articles from local writers, and insiders, all updating in real time. Not just the Lions, every major sports team, including MMA, UFC, and so much more. Don't want to waste time searching? Sign up for free. Create your ultimate sports news hub. You control what hits your feed at Sports Spider, your number one source for all your sports. Visit sportspider.com today, right after the show. All right, well, that's it for today's Rise and Grind morning show. We'll be back tomorrow morning doing the pregame warm-up show or the pregame, whatever you want to call it, show tomorrow. And get ready for the Chiefs on Saturday. And we'll be doing a live play-by-play on Saturday once again, watching the game together, conversations and football, man. It's going to be a good time. Eric, hope you have a good rest of your day today. Everyone, go One Pride, go Detroit Lions. We'll see you back here in the morning. Take care.
Rock up.
Adam Schefter at ESPN says there's 275,000 people.
Well, that was some party in downtown Detroit. 775,000 people shattering the NFL draft attendance record.
This is the future.
Oh, great.
Evolution. This is the future.
Ball grip.